My name's Garry Kadwell and this is our property called Fairhalt in Crookwell, New South Wales, on top of the Great Dividing Range. We're just over 1,000 metres above sea level, and I'm the fourth generation on this property, and my son following will become the fifth. When we first started off doing our environmental work, we had no funding, there wasn't even land care groups formed. And when you're a working farm, most of your emphasis is put into production and creating a living. But along that way, you've also got to look after the sustainability and the reliability of your place for the future. And we started off on our own bat, and then thankfully as land care groups and other organisations emerged, we were able to obtain funding to help us do these projects on a really long-term and permanent basis. And that to me was a turning point of a direction in our farming system. When I was a very young boy in a conversation with my grandfather planting trees one day, and I really couldn't understand why we were doing it when we had so many. But he said to me, every time you drive past you will remember me. We're doing this for the long-term future of the place. That's what this regen farming is about, the lifetime plan and the vision that we all have to do to maintain farming in an environmentally sensitive and responsible way. My vision is only a part of the puzzle that'll ongo generations to come, but it's what I do now that will make the differences in the future generations for them to be able to build on and make sure what we had is restored and captured in a way that's viable. I had a very progressive dad. And when I say progressive, he was ahead of his time in his ways. He also handed over responsibility very early, which I think is very important to younger farmers to be able to take control in the prime of their life. I've had some great mentors through the Potato Association in Mr. David Montgomery and our neighbour Mr. Jeff Fay. They've influenced me. Land care groups and Green in Australia, they are a great influence to drive you and your vision further. It's lovely to see the culmination of small changes over quite a long period, to see them coming together in the revegetation areas, not just providing wind and frost protection, they give us the beneficial insects we need, having a deeper understanding of how nutrition and our plants and our soils work, and combining all of those things and the need to combat drought and be resilient in these tougher times, to have an understanding now that all of those little components have combined together to give us more of a wholeness in our management strategy to move forward to meet the real challenges that we're going to have in farming into the future. Out of adversity always comes something good. And we sometimes need that adversity to the challenges to make us think differently and look at things very differently on what we've done in the past and what we have to do in the future to survive in a sustainable way. We need to now look at opportunistic cropping. We need to look at the long term of what we do with chemicals and fertilisers that are a finite reserve and band-aid fix. Our whole approach now has to be the long-term vision of how we make a living responsibly and sustainably, but also meet those challenges of weather events that are becoming more frequent, to make sure that we can farm into the future and meet the challenging demands of more production that's required. Whatever you do, it comes back to really good pre-planning. We're always going to have weather challenges. We're going to have events, whether they be a flood or a dry time or a fire, or just things don't work out. We'll have insect pressures or whatever. If we always create an opportunity to have options, and that's the word I like, whether that be through water storage, fodder storage, ability to plant new developing crops to fill in feed gaps, they're the things as farmers we have to plan for long ahead, not just from a day-to-day part of our operation. And we have many options now with new crops and seeds and storage facilities and mechanisation to be able to meet these challenges. The two biggest changes we have in two different aspects. One has been understanding our soils and our nutrition of our plants. And the ability to get our nutrition right to build up a natural immunity from insect and disease pressures has taken a lot of emphasis off having to have those band-aid fixes. That has been an enormous part of a change in our program. Looking at IPM and our pest management program in conjunction with our wider environment, and as you see all of these ecological zones that now build up beneficial insects and birds and things that we require, We're getting back to working with nature, not trying to manipulate it. And they have made enormous differences to our cropping and farming operation. Back in the early 90s, I wanted to change something on the place where it would become a place of peace and a tranquility that enhanced the place, not just in an environmental sense, but in a well-being sense for the people that worked here, and also for my own resilience. I built a little wetlands and it became very successful, and we're only talking 1/4 of an acre. And then one thing leads to another, and it's a great addiction doing environmental work. Then I built a 32-acre wetlands, which had a twofold benefit. One, it's give us options. We had ability to drought-proof ourselves to a big extent by how to grow fodder and the opportune crops with the water availability. But all the other time of the year and the seasons, we have this beautiful environmental area that's now home to many species of birds and animals, and it just has created an oasis for the tough times. And you can go down there having the hardest day and be at peace and see such tranquility and get such enjoyment from it that gives you the resilience to also challenge that comes through farming.